Hello and welcome to Global Methodist Voices. It's so exciting to be back with you for another week. My name is Justin. I am excited to be your host for this. It's been such a blessing. I get to meet people from all over the conference and all over the world, and it truly has been a blessing. I hope that you've enjoyed episodes. Before we get started with this, I want to let you know if you're watching about September, I think mid-August, the Emerging Generations group in the conference put out that there is going to be another Wesley Weekend coming up in the spring. And this is a primarily middle school retreat that is going to go somewhere in North Georgia-ish area. And it can be used as a confirmation retreat. It can be used as a getaway for your middle schoolers, but it's going to be a weekend where they're going to get to experience God. They're going to be in the Word. They're going to be with each other. And I've not heard a single negative thing from last year's first ever Wesley Weekend. So head over to the ngagmc.org, check out, find Wesley Weekend, get more details. There's more coming out. Keep an eye out. And you want your middle schoolers to head to that. So I hope you'll check out the next Wesley Weekend in 2026. And now we have a fun guest. This person I met minutes ago, and look, it's exciting, and I love what he's got on behind his head on his shelf. It already has sparked a conversation, but I have the youth pastor from Thomson First Methodist, Josh Williams. So welcome to Global Methodist Voices.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Yeah, so get us started. Kind of, who are you, and maybe how did you get to Thompson?
All right. I'm a little bit older. I'm in my 40s. I'm married for 16, 17 years.
Amazing.
And I have two daughters, a 5-year-old and a just turned 8-year-old, who are little Spitfires. They also hang out with the youth sometimes, so they act like teenagers as well. So that's a great thing and also a rough thing at times. But I grew up actually in New England, from Rhode Island originally, spent the first like 20 something years of my life up there. Grew up in Assemblies of God, felt the call of God to step into ministry while I was on a missions trip. I'd done several missions trips. And kind of longer story that I won't go into, but with my background and some medical things that I was born with, it felt almost impossible. And God just kept on reminding me that with him, all things are possible. And if he's called me, he'll equip me. And so ended up going to college, got my degree, met my beautiful wife, moved down to Tampa, Florida. And one of the first churches to hire me on full time as a youth pastor was a church in Tampa, a Methodist church in Tampa. That was a great introduction. I'd known about the Methodist Church, never been part of the Methodist Church. And looking back, it was probably one of the healthier churches that I've served for, and how they treated their team and the congregation and everything. But also experienced for the first time ever what transition happens with pastors. And so the pastor that hired me on was only there a year and a half, and then I had to acclimate to a whole new pastor. But still really great friends with those. And then kind of with the direction that my wife was going with, she does acting and all that kind of stuff. We were praying about, if God's going to open something up, in those areas, and God opened up a door for us to move out to California. And I worked at a church out there for about 6.5 years in LA. And California is its own bit of craziness. And so we were there during COVID. We were there during all of that. Yeah, my daughter was born in LA during COVID. And so it was just one of those things, watching how California was for a long time. I joked around that, I wanted to be a missionary. And so God sent me to a place that really needed, his word spread. And so our youth group did great. We started to get known within the community, in all kind of the best ways. We were one of the few youth groups that found different ways to meet even during the pandemic, because we had so many kids that were spiraling out in depression and suicidal ideations and everything. And we were like, we have to find a way to meet within these restrictions. And so we did that at restaurants outside. We did that through just visiting students' houses, dropping off little gifts and little notes and things like that. But as time went on, California started getting more and more crazy, and for us, we kind of hit the point where we were like, "Is this where we want to raise our daughters?" I was, in order to afford to live there, I was commuting about an hour and a half one way each day to work, and so after 6.5 years, got a job out in Knoxville, and was working for a larger ish church out there. And then over time, God kind of redirected that call. And it was actually the pastor here that reached out to me at Thompson, and was like, "Hey, I just wanted to start a dialogue, conversation," and heard his heart and what this church is doing for the community, his heart for the students. And it was just, it was part of the Global Methodist Church, which, still having ties to the Methodist Church, I'd been there for a lot of my students during that transition and stuff, just kind of praying for them and encouraging them. And so came down here with my family and moved to, to a smaller town. We're getting acclimated to the small town life. But what's amazing is just this church's view on the community and reaching out to the community, and being part of the community. And we've kind of done that with the youth ministry. The youth ministry here was already a very strong ministry. They have a lot of great counselors and leaders here, and it's really making a difference in the community. And so for me, I kind of had the awesome privilege of just coming on board to an already great and healthy program, and just kind of, acclimating and learning what's working, what's not, and just working together with the church and the community, and just getting things going for our students. And so it's been a an interesting transition, but a great transition.
Oh, that's so cool. A couple things that stick out to me. Maybe one of the first people I've ever met from Rhode Island. Yeah, so there's that. But no, Thompson versus Rhode Island anywhere, and then Tampa, Florida, or Los Angeles, or Knoxville. Dude, you had to have had culture shock right when you moved down.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it
and cost
was.
of living shock
Oh
in a
yes,
good
yes.
way, in a good way. If you left LA. So, um, dude, that's awesome. And, it's, I love it's not been a linear path.
No.
You've kind of gone where God leads, and
Yeah.
which is really, really cool. We talked beforehand that you're from, Assemblies of God, or a Foursquare, a similar kind of Pentecostally denomination. And dude, that's Wesleyan.
Yeah.
It was the Pentecostal folks that John Wesley had the experience with, the Moravians,
Yeah.
and that ignited Methodism through Wesley. So we're not far.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We we could probably, and if you've listened to Bishop Carolyn Moore, which isn't from far from Thompson, uh, like she'd love for the Holy Spirit to ignite again in the way that it was old school
Yeah.
in the Methodist movement.
Oh,
So
absolutely. And actually, the youth pastor that works, or worked with Carolyn Moore, Taylor Williams, she's one of the ones that we meet up. Several youth pastors in the area meet up monthly, and so my first visit out here, she was one of the speakers, Carolyn Moore, and then, talking with Taylor and stuff like that. I've gotten lots and lots of great stuff about Carolyn Moore, and seeing her in action, and it's pretty awesome.
yeah, she's wonderful. Well, the reason that I got connected with you is there was apparently some event that you guys were a part of. Can you describe what that event is for someone who has uh no idea what I could be talking about? Because I honestly I don't know what I'm talking about. So I just heard there's an event. Josh was a part of it. Get the story. So I'm asking to get the
Yeah.
story.
So when I started here, any place that I've ever stepped into, my thing isn't, I'm not bringing my culture to this youth ministry and changing everything, or to this role, or whatever. I want to learn the culture of the students, the culture of the area, and then, there might be some Josh isms or whatever, but even for my leaders, they've worked with these students longer than I have. And so we're making sure there's biblical foundation and all of that great stuff. But I'm not changing and transforming stuff. I'm trying to work with you guys with what we have and to make sure that we're going in the right direction. And one of the things that they shared was that in the past had tried to build some bridging um, events that kind of brought together other churches. And that was kind of their goal. And they said, sometimes last minute people would cancel out or whatever, but their goal was, hey, there's, being smaller town, even county wise, there's not a ton of youth ministries out here. And so we have a bigger facility. We have a little bit more of a budget. We have some more students than some of the other ministries. So why don't we leverage those things in a positive way? Like, be a place where youth ministries can come and kind of meet up. And so when we were planning out the calendar, I had done an event before where, we called it like a neon night or whatever, and did a lot of black lights. And so I just kind of pitched it as, why don't we do that? But because it's going to require some manpower, some time, and different things like that, what if we kind of open it up to local area youth ministries, and see if any of these local youth pastors, some of those that I've got to meet with, some of them our team has known for quite some time. Let's see if they want a part of it. But for me, one of the biggest things was, I've been invited out to do stuff before, and like, there's the great sales pitch, and then you show up, and what they really wanted was you and your students' bodies to be there, for numbers, rather than like, hey, we value you as a youth pastor and want to plug you in as well. And
Yeah.
so my first thing was, if we're opening this up to other churches, other denominations, other youth ministries, this isn't going to be like a Thomson First song and dance type thing. Like, they're coming to watch our show. I want to give these other pastors the platform as well. I want to make sure that those that want to have a part in this, planning it, putting it together, being on stage in front of the students, that they share in that as well. Like, I want to give everyone a buy-in so they feel like, hey, this is part of my thing as well. And so when we pitched it, that was the thing. I was like, hey, this is, as we're turning this service out and forming it, I included a thread with all the youth pastors, and I said, if there's specific even leaders within your ministry that you want plugged in here, let me know. This is how I'm kind of seeing it. Are there areas, prayer time? Is there a pastor that wants to pray? Game time. Is there a pastor that's really great at planning a game? If not, I can plan one, but can you run it? And all across the board, like, we have a great worship band for our students, and it's mostly student-led band. But then talking with one of the other youth ministries, they had shared about how great their band is doing. And so I was like, okay, again, bringing them to the table. Hey, let's do 4 songs. My team will do the very opening hype song and the very closing reflective. You guys do the praise and worship part in the middle. And so even opening the door to have even other bands come in, to my sound man's dismay, because they're trying to transition different bands. He did a great job. But the idea was just like, we don't want this to be all these youth kids come and they hear just me. We want it to feel like every youth ministry can cheer on their pastor, their leader. They hit the stage, they all have a level of buy-in, so they feel like, not only was this good for our students, but like, I had a piece in it. And so I think when we do that, we step away from the idea of, trying to, it looks like we're trying to pull students into our ministry that are already involved in other ministries. When we're plugging in these other leaders, it's really about a collaboration. I reached out to a lot of youth pastors. Several of them didn't get back to me, which is okay. It's a brand new thing. But we had about 4 youth ministries that got involved. Some of them were from churches that don't have a youth ministry at all. And the lead pastor was like, we've got some students that attend. We're just going to send them in your direction. And so it was a great event where I think we ended up having like 101 students, lots of leaders. And so there was like the fun, neon lights, face paint, all that kind of stuff. But then, like, worship hit, and without any encouragement whatsoever, students from all the youth ministries went forward to the altar and were just worshiping God. They were engaged with one another. They were all playing the game. We ended up having about 6 or 7. At the end, I did like a brief message on being the light of the world, how Jesus is the light of the world for those walking in darkness, and how then in our schools we're called to be the light and carry that light into the darkness. And so it was a salvation, and then also just encouragement for the coming school year. And we ended up having 7 students raise their hand and respond to the salvation call from the different youth ministries. And so we did like a corporate prayer, but then I was like, hey, pull aside your leader, let them know the decision that you made, because, you know, while I'm up here speaking, they're the ones that are going to be pouring into you. And so stepping away from that, it was just one of those things. I know with my students talking after, there were several of them that were like, you know, even the ones that you would never expect were like, I want to do this again. Like, it was so great to be able to be around other Christians that we don't know, that are from outside of our community, and like worship together, play together, hang out together, and just see that this is more than just like us, and see like the Christian walk being active in other students.
Oh, that's so good. So there's 7 lives that are forever changed,
Yeah.
for eternity, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Not to mention that your community realizes that you could be not in competition, but in collaboration
Yeah.
around growing the kingdom of God in Thompson.
Yeah.
So, to me, that now these churches that you reached out to, just so we're clear, they're not all Global Methodist.
No, no. In fact, one of them was a local. It's Thomson First Baptist Church
Okay.
that ended up coming out as well, and their youth pastor. I created the game, and he hit the stage, and he emceed that game like nobody's business. And you know, you see all different styles of youth pastors and youth leaders and stuff, but no, that was the thing, is we had some Global Methodist churches, but then we had like other churches like the Baptist church and different things like that that all got involved as well.
Oh, that dude, that's so fun. I think that um, I've loved being Global Methodist. I joined as early as I could, but one thing as people talk to me, they're like, you know, I really like this Baptist church. Okay, go. Like they're talking about Jesus and
Yeah,
about spending eternity in heaven and living holy lives. Like you should go there. And they're like, but but they're not Global Methodist. I'm like, okay, like that's cool. Like we're friends.
yeah,
And I think that spirit of like, yes, we want to hold fast to the things that are true. Like we want to hold to the truth of the gospel, the truth of holiness, the truth of walking in the way, and also the truth that no one person's gonna have it all figured out except for
yeah,
Christ.
absolutely.
And so no, that to me, that probably is gonna build more faith in your community than if you would have done a really good event that just met the needs of, your students. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, so, um, we got a lot of time left, but I wanna know, are you gonna do it again?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we've started to broach that subject with the leaders, and again, with this whole idea of it being everyone kind of coming to the table. You know, if we want to host it at my place, we can. But the idea is again, we want this to be to everyone to have like a buy-in on it. And so if there's another church location that works, and like one of the pastors is like, hey, let's do it at this one. I mean, the big idea is just, you know, bringing these youth ministries together. Bridging those gaps, and you know, as you said, you know, when we're talking about salvation and just encouraging them to share the word, I mean, that is 100% gospel. And so, you know, you're not going to find a whole lot of clashing between different, you know, denominations within that. And so just kind of continuing that, and allowing it to be something where not only do we bridge the gap there, but then it's kind of like, and a lot of the, you know, different movements that we've seen over the years and over the decades and stuff like that, I've always heard that a lot of times it's the students that started off, and then everyone catches on. And so, you know, while that's kind of been our church's, you know, rallying cry, is bridging those things. In the same aspect, seeing these youth ministries come together from all different backgrounds and doing this, my hope is that it then sparks within a lot of the churches within our community, and hey, even those that are listening, to start saying, okay, what are the things that we can bridge the gap on to start working together, not against other churches, but with other churches for the sake of the gospel. Because as you said, in the end, like those are salvations. And whether they get saved at my church, the Global Methodist Church down the road, the Baptist Church down the road, they are saved, they're forever transformed, and they're going to go and make disciples. And so that should be our common ground there is, hey, we're saving people. We're sharing the gospel with them and seeing their lives transformed by Jesus and the gospel.
That's so good. Okay, fundamental, like just nitty-gritty question, because I know how my brain thinks about
Okay.
this. Um, would you guess that this is an easier event to plan with others, or would it be easier if you just did it by yourself?
Um, it would 100% be easier to do it by yourself.
Oh, first,
Uh,
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, getting all these people to get together, like, oh, that sounds like so much extra work.
and
And
not knocking people. There are some people, and I know I'm the same way. My wife complains sometimes. She's like, "I texted you like 4 hours ago. Where's your response?" And I'm not in a meeting. I'm not, I don't respond well. And getting other pastors to respond is also something difficult when you're trying to collaborate different things. I also happen to be back out in LA about a week before the event because I had a former student getting married, and they paid for me to come out and officiate their wedding. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna miss that, but I'm also still trying to coordinate everything. And even,
that,
I've a great bunch of counselors here, and one of them was like, Saturday and Sunday of the event, I'm literally, because the main building that we used for the event also doubles as like where we host our contemporary service. So I couldn't transform that part until service ended on Sunday afternoon for the event on that Sunday night. And so I just, the minute service ended, I'm running things around, moving things around and all that. And there was a level of getting others to help me, and some of my students and leaders were awesome, but there was also a level of I see it in my head and I know I'm going to have to make changes. And so for the first time, I'm just going to need to do this by myself. And the leaders are very gracious with that, but it is when you're planning out these things, I could plot out everything, but when you're collaborating with others, there needs to be that grace given for time, for their ideas as well. Again, telling everyone we're coming to the table, we're working on this together, and then me planning out every single detail is kind of like, the complete opposite of what I'm trying to say.
right.
So, you need to have that grace and realize it's going to take time for people to respond. There are going to be different gifts and talents, but plugging all those people in, sometimes instead of just planning it out, I was like pulling this person and being like, okay, are you good at this? Okay, perfect. Awesome. And you with this? Okay, can you do this? Can you do and so it becomes managing as well as just building an event.
No, I think that if someone were to watch this and go, "Oh, we should do that in our community," just remember that group project you had in high school or college, right? But the difference is, from what I'm hearing, is usually there's one person that ends up getting very angry and ends up doing the whole project in high school or college, and we need to get the grade, we need to get this done. But in this instance, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You've got to get the buy-in of the other people. You've got to get their involvement. You've got to show that this really is about the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of us. And which means you're going to have to do the slower, relational, intentional stuff. So my thought is, if anyone's watching this, like, oh, we should do this. We should start, like, if you think you can do it in 6 months, give yourself 12. Like,
Yes.
just because everything takes longer than it quote unquote ought to.
Yeah.
So,
And I will say in favor of these other youth leaders and these other pastors, I feel like there was also so much grace on their part. They're like,
for
hey,
sure.
yes, we love this idea, plug us in where you want. And to a degree that also added to it is they were so excited about it and wanting to, they were like, give me whatever, and I'm like, no, I need more details.
No, I need
um
specific. You tell me
yes.
what you're good at.
but they were excited for it, and they were so 100% easygoing. And like me, I'm like trying to manage time to make sure that okay, these people get enough focus and these people get enough focus, and so there's no hurt egos or anything. And in the end, like with the leaders that I worked with, it wouldn't have been. But they were just they were really easygoing, and I think more than anything, they were just excited to be doing this together with their students, with so many other students.
So I I like it. So going back to the original thought, I want to capture the original thought. Um, why why did you do this again? Like
Um,
I don't mean that to be rude,
yeah.
but like uh we are often people that are about my church, my like it just seems like it could be a lot of work for so so what was the initial like this has to happen for this reason?
hmm I think the initial thing was the very initial like planning thing was just, hey, let's invite others to it. I think that was the very first, like just throwing it out there in a
It'd be
calendar meeting.
fun.
Yes.
It'd be fun
Um,
if other people came.
Yeah, but then when it actually comes to pitching this idea to people, pitching this idea to the rest of my team, to the other churches, that's where you kind of need to find the real heart behind it, because people will see through your lies and your fake makeup and everything like that. And so it was okay. What's the real heart behind this thing? And the real heart was just, we're a large county. Some of these churches were from 20, 30, 40 minutes away. As I said, some churches, they don't have any youth ministry whatsoever, but they have students that attend, and they're like, hey, so there are so many different backgrounds there. And it was just like, let's get our students together to worship God corporately. Let's do a basic salvation message, encourage them to be lights in their communities and their churches and all that kind of stuff. And let's just bring ourselves together. I mean, looking at it now, it was more of a kind of like the launch of something, in my opinion, more than anything. Like, let's get these basics down. Let's get our groups together, worship corporately, and just tie our groups together. And now it's more of like, I realize in the moment it was planning this a big event, but I almost feel like now it was the launch of something that we hope to continue as the years progress, where more and more people get on board, and maybe it sparks something, with other churches where they're like, let's bridge those gaps, because in the end, what really matters isn't like the seats on the people in a seat on a Sunday morning. What matters is that lives are hearing the gospel, and they're being changed and transformed. And whether they go to my church or your church or Bob's church or whatever, as long as they're getting plugged into a good uh, Bible foundational church, then God is going to continue to grow them.
No, that's I there's so many times in my life I've been like, "Hey, it'd be a good idea if we did this," and then it's like, I don't really know that I should have said that. And this is one of those, man. I think that at first this could see like this is a good idea, and then it's like, oh man, this is a whole lot of work, and then it's like there's eternal fruit
Mhm.
in all of the pain that we went through to get to
Yeah,
it. So you know, there were 7 salvations. Was it worth it for 1? Yeah.
yeah,
Would it be worth it if, it ignited a spark in, one of the youth so that they could go and be a new light in their school? Yeah, it'd probably be worth it for that too.
yeah,
So, uh, it's we have to change what our metrics are,
yeah,
right? Because it so many times we do stuff for churches like, how are we going to fit, a few more people in a pew on Sunday? No, this is how are we going to expand the kingdom of heaven to here on earth. So I just love the heartbeat of it. So y'all did this as like a back to school event this
yeah.
year.
Yeah,
So
actually, it was just 2 weeks ago.
so hypothetically, if you were to do this again in a similar fashion, you have about 12 months
Yeah.
to pull it off again.
Yep. I think my students would want something, granted they're not planning it. They would want something sooner, like, the and I haven't even broached this with the leaders and stuff, but something maybe beginning of the year. plan wise.
Everybody wants something, but, yeah, no, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of moving parts, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Organizational leadership is hard, and so it does it wears a lot, and then you keep the weekly or regular rhythms, whatever the
Yeah.
culture you said you look at the culture, you see what's there. You're doing that on top of
Yeah.
keeping the regular culture going. I could totally see, like, yeah, it'd be cool. I hope you didn't call it the first annual. I hate when people call stuff the first annual. The word
No,
is
no, no.
inaugural.
I mean, we didn't
Inaugural.
up until like we got feedback from the event. I was like, it's a one and done thing.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, we should do this again. We should do this again. So definitely first annual was not in and probably will never be part of the vocabulary there.
Yeah, but just so everyone knows, there's no such thing as a first annual. It doesn't exist. It's like a jumbo shrimp. It's not a thing. So no, that's so good. So what um it's really early on, right? Like a couple years ago, we saw the Asbury outpouring with the revival of students at Asbury. It went over to Samford University. We're seeing Unite happen at colleges all over the country, mostly Division One. Ohio State, Georgia, Oklahoma, like really big Division One schools. Have you seen any fruit in like stuff that happens at schools yet? Like, do you have a hand in like seeing like is FCA a little different because now the kids all have worship together outside of school or anything like that that you can see yet? I know it's really, really, really new, but anything else that you're seeing?
So, specifically school wise and stuff, I haven't yet. I know it actually kind of works out in our favor with that, as in like we just did this 2 Sunday nights ago. So it was, I think it was September 7th is when we did it. Um, and then this coming Thursday, the local FCA is putting on a Fields of Faith. And so we've hit some issues with, the county doesn't want to provide school buses and all that kind of stuff, but they're still expecting a really great turnout. So it's kind of the way I see it is it's all different catalysts that kind of help there. I know even amongst our students, there's been a lot of conversations about like even last night, because our night is typically a Sunday night that we meet for our youth ministry. And I when I get the opportunity to, I pop into the different small groups after the main teaching. We do small groups, and so one of the small groups that I popped into, a few of the students were talking about how they took that challenge very personal about are you going to share the gospel? Like, are you bringing a light into those dark places? And so they were sharing, for some, it was like, these great things are happening. And others are like, I've been trying, but I'm not seeing anything. And so we unpacked, well, just, you being willing to, I was like, really bad analogy because I'm awful at sports, but like, on a pass play, if there's multiple wide receivers, yes, it will most likely go to this one, but the quarterback has plenty of options. As long as you are aware and willing and opening up yourself to God using you, then at some point you will get that ball thrown at you. You might set the timetable of like, it needs to happen this week, but God's like, I've got something 3 weeks out for you. But you just need to be willing to be aware and be ready for who he brings your way. And so I've just seen a lot more openness in talking about how they're sharing the gospel and how they want to bring change to their school. And some of them are seeing it immediately, and some of them they're not seeing it, but there's that willingness to do that.
Oh, that's good. No, I want to share with you. So in seminary, one of my favorite professors is named Dr. J. Moon Asbury, and he is a missiologist. His whole thing was about sharing the gospel, bringing stuff, and I just loved him. He was so much fun, and he's like a surfer dude. He's like, bro, congratulations on graduating. Last time I saw him up in Asbury, and just love him. And but one of the things we looked at was the research on sharing the gospel. And so I just want you to know this so you can take it to your kids. The research showed that people on average needed to have the gospel shared with them 30 times before they said yes. Before they said yes to Jesus, 30 times. And you're like, well, isn't it it is transformational, but we're dead in our sin,
Yeah.
and so it takes 30 times, and so one thing that you could take is, like, someone has to be number 17.
Yeah.
Like, when you're sharing the gospel, for it to get to the 30, that's gonna be the time where someone goes, "Oh, yeah, Jesus is real, Jesus is Lord." Like, someone had to be number 17.
Hmm.
And so and the fruit is God's.
Yeah.
Like, that payout is God's. Our job is just to continue to spread the gospel.
Yeah. And
And
just be
so,
faithful with it. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe encourage your students, like, be
Oh,
number
that's great.
17, because uh it can be, especially you've seen it, I've seen it in ministry, like, you're like, "Why are they not getting it? Like, why are they not getting how much Jesus loves them? Why are they not getting, like, how good this gospel is?" Like, man, I'm number 23. Like, someone needs, and so we say that kind of flippantly, but the truth is, like, the research shows 17 times,
Yeah.
or research whenever it was done was 17, 20, 30 times. So, like, if we aren't faithful with with the with the time the Holy Spirit says, "Okay, it's your turn,"
Hmm.
then we limit
Yeah.
what's supposed to happen. So, no, being the light to the school, being the light. I know we're recording September 15th. It was a hard week last week. And man, the world just needs light. The
Hmm.
world needs to know how good Jesus is. The world needs to know that we never celebrate sin. We celebrate holiness. We celebrate the gospel. And I love the ecumenical gathering. You told me that maybe someone else listening is going to have to look at what ecumenical is, but
I did. I had to
ecumenical,
look it up. I was like, ecumenical gathering. What is, but no, yeah, it was,
yeah, the dumb seminary stuff making, yeah, uh, multi-denominational is all that mean. Like,
yes.
it's not a one denomination, it's the body of Christ. So
Mhm.
ecumenical just being the general body of Christ, coming together. I love it. I love your path to get to Georgia. I think, you know, being in LA in COVID, all we know is what we saw in the news, what we saw on whatever our favorite, you know, talking head told us about. You have real experience in what it was like, but um, I know it wasn't easy to gather.
No.
Like in 2020, the part of Georgia I lived in, um, like restaurants they didn't change any policies.
Yeah.
Uh, they There were churches that met every Sunday, did not take one Sunday off. Um, they didn't change where you sat, how you sang, any of that. And I just know that California was not that.
Yes.
So,
I get to know the police officers pretty well.
yeah, because they
And
were
they
coming to
were always
check you
very
out.
gracious.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was definitely a unique time.
I'm sure. And now in Thomson, Georgia from Los Angeles, I mean, what a diametrically different place.
Yes.
So, um, but also you're in a place where cultural Christianity is present, but actual Christianity can sometimes be lacking.
Hmm.
Whereas in a lot of those places where it's harder to be a Christian, we lived in Minnesota. It was harder to be a Christian in Minnesota than it was in Georgia. Like, it mattered more.
Yeah.
I mean, it it challenged your faith more because it was not the cultural norm to be in church. So,
Yeah.
you got to see, I assume, some of that in your time in LA, that you know it costs something to your relationship sometimes to confess that Jesus is Lord.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So
100%. And anytime people showed up, it was, I mean, we had a decent sized youth ministry there, but it was always one of those things, like, I knowing some of them were not professing Christians, like there'd be students that they came out like 8 weeks in a row or whatever. I pulled them aside and be like, "I just want to know, like, in the best way possible, like, why
why
you're
are you
coming
here?
out. I want to know your heart behind it and everything like that." Cause, and just hearing the different story, because there is so much more that they could be doing, like, that isn't as entertaining as a church service, let alone, like you said, I mean, if you in LA, if you claim to be a Christian, you already have all these different strikes against you before you've ever shown who you are. And so just the idea of stepping into a church, um, you already have all these different labels that are being put on you.
Yeah.
And so anytime we had a new student, or students coming out or whatever, it was like, that they're making a statement in a positive way because of what it could cost them.
No, when we lived, I always tell people like, what's the difference between Minnesota? Because we lived in Minnesota, downtown Minneapolis, and they said, "What's the difference between church here and there?" And I said, "In Minnesota, it was drastically easier to go get bottomless mimosas, and it was culturally approved to go get bottomless mimosas instead of going to church. Here, culturally, people would look at you differently if you chose to go get bottomless mimosas
Hmm.
on Sunday morning, drunk by noon.
Yeah,
There, it was celebrated. Here, it's like, duh, you have to go to church, then go get bottomless mimosas. There, it was like, no, you were you were different.
yeah.
If
In
people are
LA
like,
towards
I'm
the
not
end, it was
available to brunch.
in LA towards the end, it was the recreational drug use that was more of
Yeah,
the because it was just,
yeah, seriously.
it was everywhere and it was just what everyone was doing and it was, okayed by the state and all that kind of stuff. And so, we had to start drawing these hard lines. And I was like, if you're stupid enough to do it, don't be doing it here while you're at youth. It's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. Um, but like, hey, you can't be doing that here.
Yeah, that's that's crazy. We're worried about kids with little vape pens. Oh, what a different world. Well, Josh, thank you so much. I'm excited to hear about, if there's a year two, what that might look like. But also I'm excited to spend eternity with those 7 more people that said
Absolutely.
yes, because you planned a harder event than you had to plan and invited people in that didn't have to be invited in, and worked as a team for the kingdom of God and for his glory. And so if you're listening to this and you're a believer, there's 7 people that will get to spend eternity with because you said yes and did the work to make it happen. So I'm super grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much for that, Justin.
And if you're in the Thompson area, be sure to check it out. If you got youth in Thompson area, go find Josh. And if the Global Methodist in your speed, he's got friends in other types of churches. He'll send you to. We're not in
Absolutely.
competition; we're in collaboration. So again, thank you for being on.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Global Methodist Voices, Stories from North Georgia, where we believe that God is at work. We believe he's on the move. We believe he is still faithful. He's still doing things. He's still moving. He's moved in the lives of youth in Thompson, and he's moving all the rest in our connection and through the world. So we thank you for listening today. We hope that you'll like, subscribe, follow, comment, all the things so that all the algorithms play nicely. And we hope you have a great day as you travel now North Georgia to the ends of the earth. May God go with you. Amen.